Welcome to Loose Change, still with that new show smell. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jim Evans, and we have another great guest for you, as we always do. I know we always say that, but we really do, so you want to hang with us. But top of the program, what's been going on? Greg is always on. I'm at home laying on the couch, dozing on and off, TV's on, and I wake up and what I think is a sci-fi channel with this program about this distant planet. And they're showing this dark, barren, vast landscape, giant craters. And I look closer, it's just a news video of Kirk Road out in North Jackson. Although it's not been as bad, though, with that this year. So we're pretty fortunate. Academy Awards, Spotlight wins for Best Movie, Spotlight. At the same time, we also have the Golden Raspberry Awards. You may have heard of those, the Razzies. 50 Shades of Grey won for Worst Movie of the Year. It also won for Worst Screenplay. And I thought, gee, the Browns had the worst screenplay, so they should have been up for consideration. Maybe they were. And you know, despite their difficult season, we joke around about it. Critics say the Browns team highlight film was intoxicating. Intoxicating. Wait a minute. Did I read that wrong? Oh, no. That was just Johnny Manziel's nightlife video. That's all that was. Browns wide receiver Josh Gordon says he's ready to come back to the team, get back to the work after having a year off. And he's been keeping busy as a car salesman. Although he's not really selling the cars, they just have him sell the suspensions. And a lot of people really get into the NFL Combine, doing things a little bit different this year. They've been having celebrities come in. They even had Steve Harvey come in and get involved in the whole process. They had him do some play calling. And they apparently had him call for misdirection, but instead he called for Miss Columbia. Hey, stick around. Thomas John joining us next, right here on Loose Change. Right back.
You can watch your favorite TV shows here, or even here. Anywhere there's an internet connection. With your Armstrong subscription and access to the internet, you can watch TV everywhere in your home or on the go. Download apps from your favorite networks like FX, ESPN, Sprout, and more directly to your wireless device. Sign in once and start watching. Take Armstrong TV with you everywhere. One wire, infinite possibilities.
Welcome back to Loose Change. I'm Jim Evans. See, I wasn't kidding around. You know, I know we do that. But sitting next to me, we have the great privilege to have local radio personality Thomas John with us. And thanks so much for being on the program. And what we like to do at the top is, for those who don't know, give us a little background information, you know, where you're from and school and how you got into broadcasting.
Well, I'm from, and thank you, by the way. I watch the show all the time, pleasure. And I think, what would I say there?
Well,
and now, of course, I'll forget all of it now. I was actually from Canton, Ohio, and went to Kent State, and came out of there, and directly here. I actually left there a quarter early, when all the guys that I was in communication school with were all getting jobs in record stores, and nobody was really going to radio and TV. And I got a chance to interview for a copywriter's job at WHOT here, even though I wasn't graduated yet. And I came here and did that, and it went great. And they called and said, you can have it if you start on Monday. So, you know, I still had a quarter to go in school, but I decided, you know, I needed to get in, so I did.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be great because, although I didn't know it, the people who were teaching advertising and copywriting at YSU were all the guys in the ad agencies who I was writing copy for.
Wow.
Because now that's what I am. I'm the copywriter. I'm writing copy for them. So they ended up saying, you know what, sign up. So I ended up completing my last 12 hours through YSU, and I got my degree. And so that was good. And that was April Fool's Day, 1972. Started there. And did the copywriting for a number of years, and I loved it.
How'd you like that?
It was great, because back when they used to have a retail ad club, and they used to do awards every year. And it was a hoot, because I was Jerry Starr, who was like the grand old man when I came here, and kind of took me under his wing. And we had Tom and Jerry Productions, and we got to do really pretty much whatever we wanted. I mean, there was nobody saying, no, you can't do that, it's too weird, and that was pretty cool, especially at that time.
Yep.
So we got to do a lot of stuff and win a lot of awards, and it was fun. And, it was rolling along, and one day they came in and said, we're moving, we picked up an FM. They had picked up a new FM, which they didn't have. And they said, we're going to put music on it, but we're going to have weather. So we need somebody to do the weather.
Pick me.
Exactly. So I started doing the weather 4 or 5 times, probably 3 times an hour. And 2 weeks later, they said, oh, by the way, we're starting an album rock station, and you can be on it. So I didn't know it, but this weather I had been doing was really the audition for actually coming out and doing this.
Wow.
And it was called Rockin' Stereo at that point. It was 101. It was called Rockin' Stereo. There was a graphic of like a Whistler's mother in a rocking chair with big speakers. I still have the T-shirt at home. And then that was 1977. And February 3rd of that year, that became The Wizard, which was the album rock station. It was WSRD.
Yeah, WSRD. Yeah.
And that was, I didn't realize it along the way, but so many things were happening that weren't normal. I mean, it was Jerry Starr and me and Mark French. That was it. That was the entire staff, which meant we all did 8-hour air shifts. And we pre-recorded them in the morning, but then would insert things along the way, which now is the norm. I mean, they actually have a name for it. Now it's called voice tracking, and that's what's done. Back then, it was not done to the extent that I would have people who should have known better, people in agencies say, oh my God, you're working 8 hours a day. And I go, yeah. And of course we weren't. We were working 9 to 5, and we would pre-record everything. But we kind of established the parameters for that, which continued right on through today. I mean, now it is, as I say, the norm. And I mean, those were the killer years. I mean, it was 77 to 83. And we had a ball, and starting with the State Theater Hall of Music, and then the Tomorrow Club, and then the Agora, all in that same building. Mm-hmm. People can't begin to grasp who would come through town, because this was pre-MTV. So
Correct.
The only way you could promote rap music was to hit the road.
Right.
So the record companies would subsidize all these groups to go out and hit Cleveland Agora, Youngstown Agora. And so we saw everybody. I mean, literally,
you're right.
In a month, you'd see 6 groups, all of which were on the charts. And this wasn't top 40 now. This was hard rock. But to imagine the equivalent of that today, I can't even imagine the equivalent of that today. It just doesn't happen. And that's exactly what happened. MTV came along right at the end of us. Right. And the record companies started putting all their money into making videos. So now they're not subsidizing the first 3 times around for these groups. So what we'd get 38 special for $2,000, and the next time you get them for 4. And then the third time finally you'd pay them 15, which is what they were worth. Well, now you started at the 15.
15, yeah.
So, as a result, it didn't hurt the radio at that point, but it definitely affected the groups that were coming to town, and that whole thing kind of changed. And right around that same period, the ratings were great. We were doing very well, but couldn't sell it, partly because the sales staff was old, and they didn't get it. I mean, they didn't get what we were doing at all. So as a result, we had all the bars and all the stereo shops, which there used to be a bunch of stereo shops.
Yes,
another thing that's kind of gone. We had all of those, but they couldn't sell anything else. They couldn't sell Sears. They couldn't. And in retrospect, it's irritating, because if they had been that far ahead, who knows how long we could have done that.
Yeah.
But what it became was, we got this top 40 sitting over here. That's the legacy has been here since the 50s. It's an AM at that point. We're gonna put the FM. Put it on the FM. And naturally, I was devastated. It was like the end of the world. And, it's cool because we had so many fans at that point that it was like the end of the world to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So we had that kind of support group thing. And well, to this day, there's We Remember WSRD Facebook page that actually has more people on it than any of our current radio station Facebook pages. It has thousands. There are thousands of people that are on that page. Anyway, the point is, and as devastated as I was, 6 months later, you look back and you go, yeah, well, that's what they needed to do. Because with the same numbers, you put those same numbers on a top 40, everybody wanted to buy that. So now the Strausses of the world and everybody that was out at that time, they made a lot more money than they ever could have made, continuing to do what we did. And the part that was amazing was nobody picked it up. I mean, there were a couple stations I won't mention in town that really were doing nothing. And they had FMs, and it was like, I thought the day after we quit, they're
They
going
were
to pick it
gonna
up.
jump on it.
It was years before CD1, what was then CD106 came
Mm-hmm.
along. And it's amazing that we really lost a chunk of rock and roll history, that if you didn't go to Cleveland or Pittsburgh, it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's weird too, because people in Trumbull County, we were never as important to them because they felt like Cleveland. And so MMS was everything to them.
Yeah,
And they,
remember that, yeah.
that was part, it was never really a problem ratings-wise, but in terms of the people that missed us and didn't miss us. Trumbull County didn't miss us as much
Okay.
as Mahoney County did. And, luckily, the people that ran the station were great. This is back when it was, individual people actually ran radio
Right,
stations.
right.
And he was great, and he basically called me and says, "What do you want to do?" And I said, we really don't have anybody that goes out into the community and does, can I be that? And it was funny because there were no public relations directors or promotions directors in town at the time. I was the first at the radio station. And that worked really well. I went out and did that. And I was also dabbling I did an AM shift for a while. And then from there, I ended up doing Music of Your Life morning show, did that for like 6 years. And that was fantastic because, and I don't think I'm all that unusual if you ask enough people. I literally like Black Sabbath and Nat King Cole exactly the same. So I did Music of Your Life. And
You have a wide range then.
I
so-
loved it. I mean, I'm doing Nat King Cole and Dean Martin, and I was just a pig in slop.
Wow.
I had a ball. And like I used to tell everybody, I was the son-in-law everybody wished they had. I could tell from the phone calls. I'd get these phone calls, and these people were just, "You really like that music?" Well, my son-in-law thinks it, and all this. So it was really, really a fun few years. And then I actually did a talk show for a while. I was opposite Rush on a local talk show. You can imagine it was me and I think 4 other people that listened to it, and did that. And then right at the end of that, that's when all the consolidation started.
And then you moved into promotions.
And everything started, it was, we got sold, and
Everybody got sold.
Everybody got sold.
Yeah.
And for a while, we were a group of 4 that were sold, and they brought in a general manager from out of town, and he wasn't here 3 months and had a heart attack. So they called me in one day, say, "You want to be acting general manager?" And it was great. We were over on Knox Street.
Knox Street, yeah, okay.
And and it was like a siege mentality. It was like us against the world, but it was really fun. I mean, when we left there, and I meet people in our building now, which is palatial. It's
Right, right.
gorgeous.
Right.
And people just say, it was kind of fun, being there, and we did that for 4 years, and that was great. That was really fun. Did everything I wanted. At that point, I started doing the Sunday Night Cruise, which is a doo-wop show, which as of this week would be 1,106 weeks.
Holy
Who knew?
Yeah.
I started it. It happened to me on my birthday. I started on my birthday, and 1,106 weeks later,